Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Will you remark further, Senator Sampson? Good evening.
Good evening, Madam President. I rise to ask a few questions about the bill that is for us, if I could, through you, Madam President.
Thank you. Please proceed. Prepare yourself, Senator Winfield.
Through you, Madam President, can I just ask the good chairman what changes were made in the House that has brought this bill back to us?
Senator
Through you.
Winfield.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. As I laid out, those changes were made in what was House Amendment B. It made changes to the license penalty under our bill that we had last week. We had a bill that revoked the license permanently. The House had a 2-year revocation. We allowed municipalities of a certain size to adopt ordinances. This allows municipalities regardless of size. We had a 30-day time period where the owners or lien holders of the vehicle that was captured might forfeit their ability to pick up the vehicle. This expands that to 90 days and sets $2,000 penalty. So I don't know if I want to call it walk back, but they certainly were concerned about the harshness of the version that we decided to pass through you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I appreciate that information. That's important to me because I did not support the bill when it came through the Senate chamber the last time, and my reservations really relied on my concern over civil asset forfeiture and the destruction of private property, and in particular my concern that you might be talking about property that is stolen property and might be stolen from my constituents or someone else in the chamber's constituents and then ultimately destroyed by a municipality without being returned to them. And I know that this change basically extends the length of time someone has to reclaim an ATV that might have been confiscated. And that's a good thing. But I still have a couple of more questions I want to ask about it.
Please proceed.
I'm reading the language, and it looks like it says that the owner or lien holder has to collect that vehicle not later than 90 days after the date, whichever is later, that the municipality posts the notice on the municipality's internet website, indicating that that vehicle shall be forfeited if not collected within such 90-day period. And they also have to mail such notice to the owner or lien holder. In the case of an ATV or a dirt bike, because these items are not often registered, I would presume that there's no record just because they have the vehicle identification number of the vehicle of the owner or lien holder. So can I ask through you, Madam President, how is the owner or lien holder notified in that case through you?
Thank you, Senator Winfield.
Madam President, if the municipality doesn't have that information, they can't send to the owner or lien holder. At best they could do is post that they have a vehicle with the vehicle ID number on their website through you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
All right, thank you very much, Madam President. So if you're talking about an unregistered dirt bike or an ATV, which is typically the case, they're not registered vehicles, and many people own them to use on private property, this type of vehicle, really there's not going to be a notice that goes to the owner or lien holder. At best, what we're expecting is that the municipality would post on their website the vehicle identification number and maybe the make and model. So if that's the case, and so assuming I'm a guy and I have my dirt bike stolen out of my garage on my property, it's not a registered vehicle, it's something I use off-road, is my only avenue to recover my stolen property to continually check the website of the municipality that it may have been confiscated in through you?
Thank you, Senator Winfield.
Madam President, under this bill, it only talks about the two ways in which Senator Sampson and I have been discussing this, which is the website or if that information were known to send the mail. But I also make an assumption that if my vehicle is stolen, that I would I would report it to the police. And so, while not captured by the bill, I think that is another way that, I mean, the police are the ones who are capturing this vehicle anyway. I think that is another way that one might know that the municipality has the vehicle, through you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I appreciate that insight very, very much. But is there anything in the bill, through you, Madam President, that requires any particular city that confiscates one of these to actually check with the police departments in the other towns across Connecticut to find out if the property has been stolen through you?
Thank you, Senator Winfield.
Madam President, there's nothing in the bill that requires that.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
So we're back to a situation where if I want to recover my stolen property, my only choice, my only chance really to actually get my property back is to find out if it's ever been confiscated and to check 169 towns in Connecticut. If it's been confiscated in Connecticut, I've got to go to their websites on a regular basis to see if my dirt bike ever shows up on any of their lists. Am I correct about that, through you?
Thank you, Senator Winfield.
I'm not sure that you'd have to go to 169, but perhaps maybe that would be the case. The point that the senator is making is not lost upon me. Right now, I don't think you would even know that you had it either. I don't know how to fix that problem that is being asked in the question, but certainly it does. There's not an automatic way to indicate to the person who lost it, particularly if it's in a different municipality, that vehicle is in the possession of the municipality, through you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I would assume that, if a vehicle, like a registered automobile, is stolen, that there's a database that is shared among law enforcement, certainly within the state of Connecticut, but maybe even beyond, maybe into other states. And I'm just curious why we didn't bother to include these often unregistered, but still valuable and sometimes very expensive vehicles that do have vehicle identification numbers in that process. Is there a reason why they couldn't be included in that database, through you?
Thank you, Senator Winfield.
Madam President, as the good senator knows, we have public hearings, police and concerned individuals came, and this bill is a result of that. There's a lot of times when we pass bills where there are other things we could have done. I don't have a great answer except to say that this is a result of the conversations that took place during the public hearing, through you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Well, I mean, I sadly was not part of the discussion on this bill at the committee level. I only became aware of it when it came to the circle the last time, and I raised these similar concerns. It appears that when it got to the House of Representatives, other members down there raised similar concerns, and there were changes made, and I'm very appreciative of the changes. But nothing actually got to the problem, which is how we are going to ensure that someone's stolen property is not destroyed. That's what concerns me about this bill, is that I can see very, very clearly that what's going to happen is that people that I represent that are largely in small towns that have unregistered ATVs and dirt bikes don't have to be registered because they're using them on their own private property, but they are stolen regularly. Those are going to be stolen. They're going to be used in some cases for a lot of different things. They may never be recovered anyway. I can understand that. But if they are recovered by a police department somewhere in Connecticut, say the city of New Haven, because they're being misused in a street takeover or something like that, I would have hoped that we would have realized that there is a way to help get these folks their property back. But the bill seems more concerned with finding a way to destroy this property than it does with actually trying to return it. And I think that's just disappointing. I understand that a lot of work went into this legislation, and I have a lot of colleagues on both sides of the aisle that support this legislation. I want to be supportive. I'm a law and order person. I don't want to see these people that are engaging in street takeovers get away with their criminal activity. I think that we should prosecute them to the fullest, but I do have a philosophical objection to capturing someone's property because you cannot apply that law equally. You know, some person's property is going to be taken from them that's extremely valuable. You might take a $20,000 car or a $10,000 dirt bike or ATV, but then you might take someone else's $150 ATV. And forget all the other circumstances where if it's not the owner driving or riding it, and if it's somebody else's property and what happens and everything like that. At the end of the day, what's going to happen is that some people who had their items stolen and then recovered somewhere in Connecticut are still not going to get them back. And I think we could have fixed that. I think we could have actually put something into this bill. I'm hopeful that maybe next year we can touch this subject again and, you know, write another policy that, you know, improves upon this to incorporate the unregistered ATVs and dirt bikes into the database for which we report stolen vehicles so that they can possibly be recovered. Through you, Madam President, I just want to ask another quick question, and that is with regard to Section 3. And I'm reading Section 3, and it says, under subsection B, it says, any municipality may, by ordinance, prohibit a person from organizing, participating in, or gathering with intent to observe and actually observing a street takeover. I'm reading this to say that you can begin to prosecute folks, and it was already described that the fine's $1,000 for the first violation, $1,500 for the second, $2,000 for the third and subsequent violation. You can actually start fining people for gathering with the intent to observe and actually observing a street takeover. Is there anything that makes it very clear that this person has to be an active participant in that language through you, Madam President?
Thank you, Senator Winfield.
Madam President, through you, I think the notion is that folks should not be gathering with the intention to do so, to watch these things. Part of the reason that these things happen is because they draw the crowds that they draw, and it's exciting, and if you know about street takeovers, that's kind of part of why they happen. And so they put that in, I believe that has been put in there in conversations I have with several police chiefs. They were concerned about folks who are participating by being active observers with the intention of being there. As I'm sure Senator Sampson knows, making sure whenever someone is being prosecuted for intention, that's not an easy thing to discern. And again, to the public hearing, there was a lot of conversation about what it is we were trying to get at, and this was part of the intention through you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you, Madam President. One of my colleagues who supports this bill earlier today suggested to me that I should ask some of these questions because it was clear to them that that was not the intent, that the intent was simply to capture people that were maybe participating, but they're not actually driving. For example, they're the passenger in the car, or they're an organizer, something to that effect. I just want to make sure that we are talking about the same thing. Through you, Madam President, we are talking about people who actually might leave their home and travel by foot or by vehicle to get to a place to observe what's going on. They can be charged with a crime under this, through you.
Thank you, Senator Winfield.
Madam President, as I read it, it is because you are there by intention to observe this. So yes, whether one might think they interpret it differently, again, we've had a lot of conversations. I'm sure people interpret things differently, but I think that if you travel with the intention of participating by observing, you can find yourself in on the wrong side of the law, through you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Sampson.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I don't have any more questions for the distinguished chairman, but I do thank him for his time and his answers. I'm trying to be very respectful here because I know how much work was put into this bill, and I know that I have colleagues in both parties. In fact, I may be the only no vote at the end of this discussion who worked on this bill with great intentions for good purposes because they actually believe that they're doing good by their constituents, because we're trying to crack down on crime. We're trying to prevent street takeovers from happening. I'm with them 100%. But I've got to draw the line at a couple of these policies. I just can't come around to accepting the fact that we should destroy someone's property, particularly if it's stolen property, and particularly if there's not a real effort made to actually reach the owner of that property. It's put on a website in whatever random town. There's 169 towns in the state of Connecticut. If my property is stolen and then used in some street takeover or other mechanism that it gets confiscated by a police department, and they have no obligation to actually try and reach out to me because they don't have my registration or lien holder information because the vehicle is not required to be registered, all that happens is it ends up on a website. And it's up to me now. I'm going to have to check 169 websites indefinitely to see if that ever happens. To me, that's a frustration. I think that more attention could have been made to that section of the bill to actually put these vehicles in the same database that we use for registered vehicles so that they do show up when they are confiscated so they can be returned to the rightful owners. And more importantly, this other part of the bill that we just discussed that actually could get someone $1,000 fine for the first offense for simply stepping out of their front door to find out what's going on down the street. Because there's noise and a lot of people gathering, they go down there to investigate and find out what's happening. And I understand that maybe this is targeting a different kind of person that's actually trying to go there as an active participant, but it doesn't say that in the bill. It says anyone gathering with the intent to observe. You know, when you walk down the street because there's a car accident to find out what happened, or there's a fire, you know, in a house down the street, you're gathering with intent to observe. Those are the words that are on the paper. And in my mind, there's nothing wrong with that. We are talking about free citizens in America. If you can't walk down the street on a public street or to a public parking lot and observe what's going on, even if it's criminal behavior, the law is unjust. It just is. Prosecute the criminals. In my view, this bill is in front of us for the wrong reasons, frankly. The problem is our law enforcement officials are having difficulty actually prosecuting these criminals. I don't know what the reason is for that, but making criminals out of innocent observers is not the way to fix it. Again, I appreciate the intent. I'm very supportive of my colleagues that are trying to make the situation better. I'm with them. I'm a law and order guy. I want to see us improve this situation and stop street takeovers. This is just not the way to do it, Madam President. I've got to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you remark further, Senator Slack?
Thank you, Madam President. Just very quickly, I want to thank Senator Winfield, Senator Kissel, and their colleagues in the House for their work on this. I am not on the Judiciary Committee, but rising to support the bill. And just to say that while these street takeovers don't happen all the time, when they do happen, they are terrifying. And I had a constituent that approached me about a year ago. He was on his way back from dinner with his family, and there was one of these takeovers, and his children were crying, his wife was terrified. I mean, it was a very traumatic experience. And he called and said, what can you do, state government, to give the police additional tools? And I think that this piece of legislation does just that. It helps our police, our first responders. It gives them an additional tool, and I think it's going to help them reduce the prevalence of these street takeovers. So I thank them for their leadership on this, and happy to be voting for it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Slack. Will you remark further? Will you remark further? If not, the machine is open. Mr. Clerk.
An immediate roll call vote has been ordered in the Senate. An immediate roll call vote has been ordered in the Senate voting on Senate Bill number 1284, and that concerning the legal use of certain vehicles and street takeovers as amended by Senate A and House Amendment B. An immediate roll call vote has been ordered in the Senate. We're voting on the bill, Senate Bill number 1284, and that concerning the illegal use of certain vehicles and street takeovers. An immediate roll call vote in the Senate. $834, total voting nay 2, absent not voting 0.
Legislation passes. Mr.